Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's event. I'm Jason Gumpert from MS Dynamics World, and we are here today for a session on using sales goals and charts in Dynamics CRM. I'm joined today by Dave Carr and Tony Ciccoletti of Trovare. It's great to have them back. They did a really interesting educational, well-received session several months ago, and today they are back. So as we get started, please know that you can add your feedback and ask questions throughout today's event. You can use the Q&A block as the best place to ask your questions, and I know Dave will be making time throughout his presentation to take those as well as at the end. We also have a couple poll questions just to get a sense of everyone in the audience here. I'm going to open this up. As we get started, please just take a moment to let us know a little bit more about yourselves in the audience and your own experiences. So without further delay, let me introduce Tony Ciccoletti to get things started. And Tony, I'm just going to take your line off mute.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Jason. You guys can hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Dave, go ahead and go to the next slide.
Dave, I'd also bring down, if you can close out that poll. Yeah.
All right.
There you go. Yep, there.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we just did quick introductions, and we're going to talk a little bit about our company, Trovare Business Solutions, and what we do. We'll spend the bulk of the day going through a demonstration on how to use Dynamics CRM, sales goals, and charts, and then we will, at the end, wrap up with just how we could potentially help you out. Go to the next one, Dave. So a little bit about us. We're a Microsoft reseller. We do focus on small and medium business market. So typically our clients will have around 500 employees or less with all sorts of revenue sizes. It's really the employee count is where we focus. What that allows us to do is have a very agile approach to how we deploy. So there's a couple of ways to do it, either through a waterfall approach or an agile way, which means we typically will do a deployment in shorter sprints so that you will see more of a rapid value in deployment with your CRM system. We do focus on a number of industries, including software, high tech, manufacturing, and distribution. And we also can support integration into other systems that you may have, and we also use marketing automation tools and whatnot. Okay, go Dave. Just a little bit about the areas that we work out of. We do support clients all across the western part of the country, but we have 3 primary locations that we work out of. Okay. And so this is what we're going to do today. So as I said, we're going to talk about sales goals and charts in Dynamics CRM. We're going to show some dashboards. We're going to show how you can change your forecast, how to create goals for individual salespeople, and how to make those charts. So give you a good sense for how you can deploy this and how you can manage your employees. Okay, I think that's it, Dave. Why don't you take it from here?
All right, will do. Jason, can you see my CRM screen?
I can. Do you want me to bring up the poll results briefly here?
Sure.
Well, let's see if I can do that. Okay, so yeah, I'll bring those back down, but yeah, we have a range of experience levels with CRM goals, and people from management and technical primarily. If you're from another, if you have another role and you want to enter that into the chat, feel free. We'd be interested to know what kind of work you do.
Seems like the majority are technical and they've used it before. Okay, great. So there's probably a couple of hints and tips we can give you to move you further along in your usage. That would be my goal. So we'll start off with, I'm going to go through three kind of main topics: why, what, and how. Basically, why would I want to use this? What can I use this with? And how do I set it up? And the majority of the time will be spent in the how. So we'll do a brief introduction here about, in case you haven't seen CRM sales goals, why you may want to use them. That'll be the first few minutes. So I've created a brand new sales goal dashboard here. This is a CRM trial. The only thing I've done to this trial is basically configure the goal system. So it's right out of the box otherwise, CRM Online 2016. So basically, you can create a dashboard. I'm not going to go through the mechanics of that, but you notice here I've got a my manager dashboard here. Here's the manager, sales manager's goals. And this is a percentage achieved mark, so how much toward our goal have we achieved already. Another different chart here. I have let's say we hired a new sales guy this quarter, so they have nothing in the first 2 quarters, but they have here's their targets here, 15,000 and 30,000 for the next 2 quarters. And you can see how they're doing, and we'll talk about these graphs in much more detail in a minute. Then you have my goals here. So I've been a sales guy all year, and I'm doing pretty good, meeting my targets here. And you can see, we'll talk about this in much more detail, but then I just have my open opportunities here. It's kind of a little dashboard I can start from the day to see where I am. And now if I'm a manager and I can use this dashboard and I want to talk to Dave about his progress, CRM allows you to kind of explode these dashboards and take a look at the details. And this is based on the goals, so what we're seeing here are goal records, not opportunities, but the goals are about opportunities. So let me kind of set the stage here about the what here for a minute. So I've created 3 users: Dave, with me, the new sales guy, and the sales manager. And I've created a very simple roll-up structure where I and the new sales guy both roll up to our one sales manager. So basically his goals are the combination of the 2 individual goals. So let me just talk about this goal chart for a minute, and then we'll talk about how we create it. You can see here the target is represented by this little blue the bullseye, and you can see here it's set to 10 for the first quarter, 20 for the second quarter, 30 for the third quarter, and 40 for the fourth quarter. Makes it for nice, easy math and a good graph. So then I added some opportunities into the system and closed a few of them. So we're in Q3 now. We're in the middle of July, or near the end. So basically this quarter, Q3 is July, August, September. So Q2 that ended in June only has actuals. So does Q1. So you can see there's nothing in progress, right? Those things are either closed out or lost one or pushed to this quarter, right? So there's nothing in progress. There's a due date of anything before July. So you can see that these 2 are the actuals. So that $9,000 here is just 1 below my target. That $21,000 here is 1 above my target. You can see how that works. This is the really interesting one to me. There's 4 things in this little bar that it's telling you. The first is, I want to talk about it. Here's the actuals. The blue represent the actuals. The orange are the forecasts. So here we are on June 21st. I've closed $9,000 worth of business this month. I've got $40,000 I'm trying to close. I'm trying to work on. So you can see we've got 9 here, and then 40 in that stack bar brings us up to almost 50. So the orange again is at 40. The blue is the 9. This is my target, and this little button here is today's target. And what that means is Q3 has 90 days in it. We're 21 days in, so we're about 22% of the way there. So we should be here. And as you can see, my blue actuals line is above that. So just really quickly, I can see I'm on target to meet my goal. All right. So so this is basically the crux of the system is creating goals for your sales guys. And then you can create these charts. And actually, these charts are out of the box. I did not have to make any changes to this. The goal progress count is if you're counting things. That's not usable for the money. The percentage achieved is what the other graph showed. But it doesn't give me as much information, I don't believe, as this one. So today's target versus actuals is another one that doesn't show you if it shows you the money, it shows you, again, today's target. So it's showing you a different view. It doesn't make too much sense to me for showing today's targets in the previous one. So I think this goal progress money chart gives me the information I need quickly and easily. So the seminar is about sales goals, and we're going to talk about sales goals exclusively, but I want to take just a minute to talk about the fact that this goal target system can track pretty much anything. Basically, it either counts record occurrences or counts dollars. And you can specify whatever entity you want, including custom entities. You can specify your own fields that roll up, the dollar fields, or I think if we have time, I'll try to get into. I'll show you how you could create a goal against that to track phone calls, number of phone calls made, just to show you how something other than sales goals can be used. But again, they have out-of-the-box stuff for sales and cases, and something about product quantity sales. But you can absolutely create this against activities like phone calls, or tasks, appointments. How many completed appointments have you done? How many completed phone calls have you done this month? That's part of your target and goal system. And you can also use a custom entity. If you have a custom entity to track sales of widgets that don't fit into Microsoft's opportunity structure, you can still use the sales goals infrastructure to report on their progress toward targets. All right, so let me just go back into the manager's goals section for 1 second. I just want to show you that the manager has goals. And actually, it may be easier to see this if I bring up all the goals and sort it by my quarter here. Oh, it already was. Try that again. Okay, so I've got my fiscal periods lined up here: quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And as we notice, the sales guy and the new guy add up to the sales manager. Let's take Q3 as the more interesting one. So I've got a target of 30. The new guy's got a target of 15. So the manager needs to hit 45. The new guy sold 6. I've sold 9. So he's got 15 in the books, 33% of the way toward the goal of 45. And the in progress, this is the forecast, is 44 plus 40 is 84. So, and you can see the same over here. We've got all these different goals there. Not terribly readable when you've got that many up there, which is another reason why you can also do this by monthly. Quarterly seems to be kind of the sweet spot. That's what the system has defaulted to, and that's where you get out of the box charts that look good. So again, I've created different views here for Dave's goals, the new sales guy's goals. So when I click on those, I can see just the information about that worker. So if I'm the manager and I'm reviewing your performance, I'm going to go in and talk about it. So in fact, let me do one more piece of cool information here. If I bring up this goal, and we'll talk about how we set up this goal, it's going to be the majority of the talk. But I just wanted to show you, if I look at my participating record section here, this is showing me what we have sold. So this is showing me in July I sold 3 deals for $9 grand, and then I have my in progress stuff that is listed to close in August, July, August, and September. So if I'm a sales manager and talking about my goal, say, yeah, things look good. Is there any way we can pull this opportunity in? Let's say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into July. Actually, I'm going to make this 1 so that we can see the blue line here is going to increase by the value of that opportunity. So if I'm a sales manager talking to my sales guy and say, yeah, I just talked to the guy last night. This is going to be done. I've got the paperwork in here. Let's close this as 1. So I've got my standard opportunity. Just have to hit close as 1. And by the way, the estimated close date, estimated revenue, actual close date, and actual revenue are what drive the buckets that this falls into. So I'm going to close it today. I'm 1 8 grand. Everything's good to go. This opportunity is now closed and inactive at 1. And if I go back here to my chart, it's not going to have changed yet. So this chart hasn't changed yet. If I go ahead and now recalculate this, that you now see it's 9 grand actual, 40 grand in progress. We just closed an 8 grand deal. That should make this 8 grand higher and that 8 grand lower. So if I recalculate, that tells the system to go ahead and add all these things up. And as you can see there, I've now got that 17 grand actuals in my pile. I'm 57% of the way there now, and I've got only 32 left to close. So again, rather than talk about spreadsheets and emails back and forth and phone calls all over the place, you have one call a week with the sales manager, 1 call a week with our reps. You go through the forecast, right via the goals. You open up, you can see any of the actuals, and now I can see that actual moved over here. So I now have 4 actuals. So there's the August one we just won. And again, I can open up all of these with a click and just go through all of my opportunities really quickly with my sales guy and make sure that we're all up to date. And again, the beauty of this is the sales guy doesn't have to build us an Excel forecast every month, right? It's all in here. All you have to do is work your opportunities, and like we just did closing that August one, it's going to be reflected in these charts. So not only is this a great goal tracking system, but it's also a forecasting system, right? I mean, you're able to see, hey, look, if we close everything, Q4 is going to be all right. But It looks like Q3 is great if we can close all these deals. And what's only going to happen? Some of these deals are going to go into Q4. That kind of progress. So, but you can easily see the value here for the sales rep and for the manager to be able to communicate about goals, targets, and progress toward those goals. All right, so there are two different types of goals you set up. One is for the manager and one is for the employee. So I'm going to take a look at how I constructed these goals. So each of these goals, you have to create one record for every goal that you're tracking, for every person. So one of the things I'm going to highly recommend, I'm going to load this onto our spreadsheet at the same point where that document is in the slides that Jason referenced and we'll send out to you. So I kind of highly recommend doing this to use Excel to create your goals. So basically I put in 4 goals for me. I did advanced find. I exported it. And then I went ahead and picked only the columns that really mattered, which are these ones, and then changed it to new guy's goal and changed his targets and goals, and then I imported this data. Just so if you, and the reason why I'm saying that it wasn't before, it's not a big deal. If you've got 50 sales reps and you've already got their stuff in a spreadsheet, it's going to be much easier to import their goals than to add them all in by hand. So let's go take a look at what is involved here. So you have to give each one of them a name. So it's basically, I use the standard format of the salesperson time period, but obviously you can set that up however you like. The parent goal is the one this rolls up into. So I need to take a little bit of time to talk about this. So roll-up goals only work by within the same time period. In other words, if we were creating monthly goals, I could not also have a quarterly goal for a sales rep. In other words, it's not going to roll up 3 months into a quarter. The roll-up happens hierarchically. So everybody who has a Q3 goal can have them all roll up to that sales manager's Q3 goal. Okay, so that's kind of usually a sticking point is people try to get to, say, okay, I've got 10 grand a month, which means I have 30 grand a quarter. So they want to see the 3 monthly ones and the quarterly ones, and that's just not possible in CRM goal structure. You either have to pick a fiscal period of a quarter or a month, or you can do custom periods, but out of the box you can do basically a quarter or a month. And let me just take one quick sideline here. If you have a corporate calendar that shows quarterly, here's where you would come in and change it. So if you wanted your templates, if you wanted your goals to be tracked monthly, you'd have to come in here into the settings, business management fiscal year settings, and change the default fiscal period template from quarterly to monthly. That will then make the drop downs months instead of quarters, and it changes some fiscal period labels and things like that. So that's where you have to go if you need to change your roll-up periods. So as you see here, let's see, this is an existing goals. I can't. So the goal metric here, this is what is calculated. So let's take a look at that. This is out of the box. That the revenue goal metric, and you see here's the 2 types of metrics, either counting up records basically, or summing up amount fields. And it's a money field, and we've got 2 things we're adding here, actual and in progress. So you can see here it says the actual revenue. Let's open up this in a little more detail. So when we're trying to track actuals, we're going to look at opportunities, we're going to look at the actual revenue field, and we're going to ensure that the record type is 1. So if we have an opportunity with the record status of 1, the state of 1, we're going to add up the actual revenue into this bucket, and we're going to, which bucket it rolls up into is determined by the actual close date. Okay, so you can see that, and by the way, this is out of the box. You don't have to define this. I just want to show you what it does, and you can also define your own based on, as you see here, they've got an entity, and so you can figure out, you can use a custom entity or whatever you want to track this information. So again, this is now in progress. So if an opportunity is state of open, we're going to add up all the estimated revenue fields, and we're going to segment them by the close date. So that's how we get quarterly buckets of revenue into the in progress buckets. Okay, so that's that revenue, and you just select that goal metric when you're doing a new one. We'll do a new one from scratch if we have time, which we should, to show you that, the different choices there. And then who the goal manager is, this is the same person as the that you want to do the target for. This is not my sales manager. This is the person who has to own, basically the owner is the owner of the opportunity records is what you want to put here. So each sales rep would have themselves listed as Dave's Q goal, Dave's goal, and Dave's is the manager. The manager is the sales rep. I know that's poorly labeled, but we need to just remember that this manager is the goal manager, not the person's manager. And then you can come down here and pick the quarter. When you pick the quarter, it selects the type for you. Then you go ahead and enter the target. And this is when you hit the recalc. These are the fields that get added up and calculated and placed on the record. And then finally, we have to indicate how we roll this up. So this is where it differs for an individual goal versus a manager goal. Individual goals always want to have roll-up from child selected to no, and record set for roll-up set to owned by goal owner. What this means is we're not going to do, I don't have any child goals. This is a what you call the lowest level goal. It's a sales rep level goal. There's no child goals. And what I want to do is I don't want to take all the records. I just want to take the ones that are owned by me. So if you notice, and then finally we'll look at the roll-up queries. So this tells me actuals for Q3 are defined as, and again, this is like a little advanced line query that you would write. But and I did have to create all these. So I had to create all these roll-up queries, 4 for the actuals, 1 for each quarter, and 4 for the opportunities in progress, 1 for each quarter. But again, so you see, it's pretty simple to define this. Basically, this is actual close date is between July 1st and September 30th. Obviously, the Q2, the dates for April 1st to June 30th. So that's how you set up the, and then you can actually view the records when you set up your query. You can make sure that things are looking right. So there's those same 6 we can see on that goal we showed you earlier. We added that August one in. So this is all, and you can see, so I can see I've got new guy stuff in here as well as my stuff. That's because this roll-up query is grabbing all actuals regardless of owner. That little switch back here is going to indicate which of those opportunities and actuals roll up into my goal bucket. Similarly for opportunities, we've got a roll-up query that I had to define, again using a simple advanced find constructs. And this one I wanted to have the close date in the July through September timeframe, but then I had to also add actual close date doesn't contain data. If I didn't have this line, it would continue to calculate these opportunities as future opportunities, even if it was closed, because the estimated close date doesn't change when you close that as a one opportunity. So you need to add in there actual close date has not yet been set. This is how this is how the roll-up works for the opportunities. And again, you can see the records that meet this. You can kind of validate your query. You can see I have my 3 up here. I've been labeled those, but those are my opportunities. And then we have the new guys' opportunities in July, August, September. Some more for me there. So you can see a bunch of records that fall into that. So if you're doing this and you don't see the right query, you need to go back in here and modify it and see what you do. All right, so that's how the roll-up queries are set up. So it's a combination of things here. This goal metric, again, just to refresh your memory, tells us what we're measuring. We're adding up actual revenue and estimated revenue and putting the actuals in the actuals and the estimated in the in progress. So we're looking at revenue numbers from the opportunity field, and then we're looking at the ones that are falling into this quarter and owned by me. So a combination of those 3 fields are going to basically limit it. Now, if I look at these, I can see that now here, the actuals for me are just my 4, right? This is my actual record. So this takes the owner into account. So again, this is now showing me just my stuff. These are the things that make up my Q3 in progress goals. Okay? So that's how you set it up for the individual contributor, if you will. The manager has to also set up goals And I'll just take the Q3 one again. And the manager is defined very similarly. I'll show you the differences. One difference here is no parent goal. Now, as you can see, that's something I can select. So if I have a hierarchy of more than 2 levels deep, what I have here, sales manager has two reps. If this sales manager is a district manager and they've got a regional manager, I can set up this. I can set up regional manager Q3 goal and assign the sales manager up into that parent. Okay, the goal owner again is the sales manager, and I guess this is just the owner of the record. I take it back. The goal owner is the key person who owns that record. My mistake. So same for the individual and the manager. This goal owner is what's going to be derived, is what's going to be calculated owned by goal owner. So that's how those align. Again, we're going to have the same revenue metric. This is the same fiscal period. I entered a goal. Yep, that does not automatically roll up the targets from the subordinate folks. You have to manually enter that target. But then you can see the child goals that are rolling up into this one. And again, these are rolling up into this one because these both have Sales Manager Q3 as the parent goal. Okay, so Sales Manager Q3 is the parent. These are the 2 children in my parent goal. All right, again, here's where the actuals get loaded when we hit recalc. And now you notice the individual one had no roll-up and owned by record owner. This is completely the opposite. We want to roll up everything in the child goals, and we don't want to just have this limited by me, the sales manager, owning the record. I want to see all of the records in my roll-up. You also, when you do this, when you say roll-up from child goals, you're not able to specify the roll-up queries because it's going to use the data from the child goals. All right, so that's the big difference here is this section right here. Do you have any questions yet?
Let's see here. I think something might have come in. Yeah, so a question just came in. Do we have to configure the roll-up query for every record we are creating?
Yeah, well, okay, so you create the roll-up query once. So for each quarter, I can show you the roll-up queries. So I did the phone calls we'll talk about in a minute. You can see actuals Q1 to Q4, opportunities Q1 to Q4. That's all I have to set up. If I'm doing quarterly goal targets, and it doesn't matter if I have 1,000 sales reps, I'm only going to have to create one actual and one opportunity roll-up query for each quarter. And that's actually why I think the sweet spot is quarters, because if I did this for months, I'd have to create 12 of these. But again, you can open up this data, create one, and then just do it again and again. But you really can't import this data. But so basically, you can see again, the queries are all sped up. So it doesn't take too much time to set these up. Probably took me 15 minutes total to get all these 8 queries set up yesterday. So that's how that works. Is that the roll-up queries, you define them kind of generically, and then you apply them to the manager goals. So to set this up, you need to set up a roll-up query for each quarter for actuals, a roll-up query for each quarter for opportunities, and a goal for each sales rep each quarter, and a goal for each manager each quarter. That's the whole total setup. Anything else, Jason?
That's it for now.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's the crux of the system here is the sales manager roles rolling up, the individual sales reps having their targets set in place, and then setting up the roll-up queries to calculate the buckets. So the toughest part is in creating a new goal when you're just starting out. So let's go ahead and do that. I kind of gave away a little bit. I created a new goal metric here. I'm going to do Dave's Q3 phone calls as my goal. So let's say in addition to tracking the revenue, I want to also track how many phone calls we're making. So I created a goal metric of completed phone calls, and once I save this record, I'll go and show you what that looks like. So the completed phone calls metric says I want to count. The other one showed the other one for dollars was showing amount, and then what I want to roll up are all of the phone calls where the status is completed and the source record type is made. And when I count those, I'm going to put them in buckets based on the actual end date of the phone call. All right. So when you set this up, these are all blank. So when you set this up, it determines what other fields can be listed. So you pick any entity out of the record type. Pick any. Let me just do the new one. You can show you what these look like. So the roll-up fields need to be actual or in progress. Record type can be any entity in the system. Cases, phone calls, custom entities. And if I pick phone call, it gives me the options for there. I can find how many canceled calls if I want to count those. Obviously, count the completed or the open. And then you can specify further. You can either show all completed phone calls. You can divide it into different buckets for made and received if you like. And then when you pick the date field from the phone call that the records roll up into. So typically you would want the actual end date there. You could do it by due date if you wanted to as well. If you were doing open calls by due date, you might want to do this. I want to count all my open calls and then do it by due date. Or you can do completed calls by actual end. Okay, so that's how you set up the roll-up fields. So I set up that roll-up field to track the made and completed phone calls. This is outgoing phone calls. I can even change that completed outgoing. That's my name and my goal. All right, so if it's not an amount, so you don't have a data type, we're not going to track a stretch target. We have the roll fields defined, so we're pretty much in good shape here for our metric. So this is now going to track the completed phone calls that I make. So fiscal period, we can select one of the 4 quarters here. Again, if I wanted to select months, we have to go back to that settings business management page and change our fiscal period template from quarters to months. I can obviously pick fiscal years, so this can go into the future as well. Obviously, you only want to set it up for 1 year at a time. When you pick the quarter, it picks the dates for you, and it's not modifiable. If you pick a custom period, you can then go ahead and enter any dates you like. And if you do this, I highly recommend picking basically your custom periods for roll up. They all have the same dates. So if you have custom periods, your quarters start on weird days or whatever, you can set that all up here and identify the from and to dates specifically for that custom period. But I'm going to do Q3. And now here's my target. How many phone calls do I want to make in a month? In a quarter? Well, I should do 100 in a quarter for sure. But I'm going to set it up for 10 so the graph is readable. And then I don't have any child goals because these, again, I'm not a manager level. This is a low-level sales rep goal. My actions will be summed up here. I'm only going to roll it up. I'm not going to roll up the child goals. I want my goals owned by me to be included. And now this roll-up query is only going to show me what makes sense for this goal metric. So if I pick revenue, it's going to give me a different choice to what I'm going to add up here than if I'm adding up that I'm doing a goal metric, a phone call metric. So my roll-up query is going to capture all the phone calls I've made in Q3, and we showed you what that roll-up query was. Okay. All right, so we're set up now with our phone call goal. All right, so this is my target. If you notice, there's nothing in here as far as actions are in progress. And it's actually not going to show me. I'm going to go to my all goals because I modified that view to show one additional field here on this Q3 phone calls, and that is the custom roll-up field. So because I was using something different, a custom entity, custom field, I'm using a custom roll-up field to capture that. You see it's blank now. I have created one phone call this morning. I'm now going to recalculate this, and this row is now going to show 1 in the custom roll-up field. All right. And just to show you again, I'll go ahead and add an activity. I'll go ahead and add a new phone call. Number 2. I'll call my sales guy. I'll call my new guy. Okay, outgoing and due date. Don't really need it because I can just go mark complete. All right, and now back to my goal. And again, this is going to still say 1 because you have to recalculate it. We'll talk about that in a minute, actually. So I can recalculate manually. These goals also recalculate periodically on a nightly basis. Basically, it's determined by a system job schedule. But as you can see, the sales rep can recalculate individual goals at any time. Also, if you recalculate the manager level goals, all of their subordinate level goals will update as well. So let's go into a manager's look here. We can see all of their in progress stuff. And if I go ahead and pick one of my ops, and close that. So this is a $5,000 one closing in July. I'll close it as 1. And let me go back to the main chart here. So the sales manager Q3 and Dave Q3 set to 17 and 23. That was my goal. We just closed for 5, so this should change to 22 and 28. When I recalculate just the manager goal, it recalculated all the ones that rolled up into it. That's why I get that message. It may take some time. You got 100 sales reps rolled up into 6 levels of hierarchy, and you hit the top level guy's goal. It's going to take a while to sum all that up and make all these changes to all these records. All right.
Hey, Dave, we have a question.
Yeah.
So someone asks, initially an Excel sheet was shown. Can all these data be configured in Excel and just uploaded for the entire organization instead of entering 1 quarter per user at a time?
I'm sorry, were you breaking up in the first part of that question? Could you please repeat that?
Yeah, so initially an Excel sheet was shown. Can all of these data be configured in Excel and just uploaded?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I recommend. Yeah. So what I recommend is you go ahead and set up one sales guy's quarterly goals, export that, go into Advanced Find, export all columns, and that's what I did yesterday actually. So I have all these goals here. I can go into Advanced Find or check out the views and just export the data, export to Excel. All right. And actually what I did was I created a view so I can see all the fields, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Anyway, Advanced Find on goals. So we can see, or put our criteria in this case, for example, I will select the goal owner equals, it could be current user or it could equal me. And I'm going to edit the columns, I'm going to add columns. I'm going to pick all of them, and I don't know which ones are important. Hit OK, hit the results, export into Excel. And that's what I did yesterday. So then I went through and I deleted everything. So you'll get a bunch of, so name, goal owner, target, those are key. Actuals, in progress, these are all calculated. Looks like it's not even let me edit my screen here. But basically, I went ahead and deleted all those fields that were calculated or not something I can import and created this. Thank you, Excel. Looks like Excel's dead. So let's go back to the goals. Anyway, so you can see the new guy's goal here. This is what I did. I exported Dave's goals, and I went back in and imported the new guy's goals. And you can do that. One word of wisdom there: if you want to have a goal that rolls up, you need to first import that parent goal, right? So if I have a third level of hierarchy here, and I want to import, regional sales manager's parent goal as a parent, I have to first create that regional sales manager goal. Now you can, if you arrange your spreadsheet properly, basically from the top down, you put in the VP's goals as the first 4 records of your spreadsheet. That will create those goals, and then the name of that parent goal you gave it could be used when you import the next level down, the records from the next level down. So that's what I did. I created, sorry, Excel's down here, but I don't know why. Let's just kill that. Maybe that'll work. Anyway, so when you import it, you have to go you have to import the top level first in order to be able to specify a roll-up goal. Let's go to the you can go here. So in order to have this record imported, Sales Manager Q3 goal has to have already been imported. So you can either do it in several passes. Do the top level manager first, then do the next level layer of manager second, and then all their sales reps third. If they have a 3-level hierarchy, you can do it that way. But you just have to make sure that parent goal is in before you try to import a goal that rolls up into it. That's really the only trick to importing the data. But other than to make sure, there's a ton of fields here. The other thing I wanted to show you, just hit a new one here, is how this changes based on my goal metric. So if you notice, none of the targets are not there at all. Child goal, the goal, and the actuals just show the last rolled up date. It doesn't, because the reason why is until you put a goal metric in, it doesn't know what you're trying to count. If I track number of cases, it's going to give me a target for an integer of a count of how many I'm going to do, and then it gives me a roll-up query for the integer. Okay. If I go ahead and change this to revenue, it changes the target to money, and it changes the roll-up queries to actuals and in progress for money. So it's got some intelligence there behind the scenes that knows it's basically a one-to-many relationship of goal metric to roll-up query. So once you specify the goal metric, you can then specify your target and the roll-up queries. Because now this is only going to show me the ones that have a revenue goal. And you're not going to see my phone call one here, right? It's only going to show me the ones that have a revenue goal. And again, if I pick phone calls, the one I made up, it's going to, again, go back to an integer count, and it's only going to give me the one roll-up query that we defined for phone calls. It's going to show me the actuals and opportunities. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, that was the vast majority of what I wanted to show you. Originally, we had more time devoted because these charts, the first version of this system when it came out in 2013 had charts that were pretty unreadable, and you had to go ahead and export the chart and edit the XML. And actually, my documentation has some links to some. You can do all kinds of things with these charts, changing the types, the colors, the labels, and everything you can change if you export this chart. Change the XML, then import it. But fortunately, they fixed this out-of-the-box graph to show what I think it needs to be shown. So I didn't need to go into the details of editing chart XML today. So again, this is the 2016 version. Your mileage may vary if you're on-premise, but this is the online latest version, and they've got a nice goal progress money chart built out that shows you the data correctly. Any other questions, Jason? Because I'm pretty much good to go here.
Let's see. Well, we do have a couple, but I want to remind folks that, you can look to the Q&A block to the right if you do want to enter any of your questions now for Dave, anything you've seen, anything you were looking to see today. Let me see here. So I'm not seeing any questions right now. Oh, here's one. Can I create goals to track different status values from a custom entity?
Yes, that would be in the goal metric piece. If I go ahead and create a new goal metric, I can specify whatever it is. And then the roll-up, well, this is a good thing to show too. I don't know why this subgrid doesn't have a plus sign like all the other subgrids in the system. And it took me a bit to realize you had to go up to this roll-up field menu to add a new roll-up field. When you do that, here's where you specify, is it going to be a money field, or is it going to be, but basically I told it to be a money field, so which kind of field is it going to be, an actual, in progress, or custom? So I can say custom, I can specify any entity here, so let's say, oh, I don't know, I want to track how many leads I have. I can track the annual revenue, budget amount, or estimated value. Let's go estimated value. And I want to say it's still going to be open. And I don't care if it's contacted new. So these are, the name of this is now my custom roll-up fields for leads, and I need to put that into the estimated close date. So as you see, once you pick the source record type, which can be any entity in the system, you can then pick the status values, source fields, and date fields that determine what rolls up into what bucket. So yeah, in fact, when I did this for a customer, they had actuals in a custom entity. So instead of using the opportunity, I created a roll-up field to look at that custom entity and tracked, actuals were basically status proposed and won. So we were able to track that from that custom entity and roll that into the opportunity. So we had the opportunities there for futures, and when they were closed, they had some fancy stuff that went and did margin stuff and everything else and calculated the actuals in a custom entity, and then we were able to bring that in and integrate that with the opportunities in the same goal page, which is kind of cool. Any other questions, Jason?
Yeah, so a couple of people were asking about recordings. We are recording the session, and we will make that available in the next few days, so please be on the lookout for an email alert when we do have that posted. Next question is about access control. How can we control who sees what data?
Excellent question. The goals can be secured, and it would have to follow the business unit structure. So, CRM unit structure opens, everybody can see everything. You can set it up by business units so nobody can see anything other than what's in their business unit. So, in order to do that, you would basically structure the business unit hierarchy, and then the goal owner. If you structure the business unit hierarchy so that I'm in one BU, the sales guy in another BU, and the sales manager in a BU above us, basically you define the roles to say I can only see what's in my business unit. I'm only going to be able to see the goals where I am the goal owner. Let's say, alternatively, let's say I and the sales guy are in the same business unit and we can see each other's stuff because we kind of work together. Then I would put both of us in the same business unit and have that same role permission so we can see anything in our business unit, not just my stuff. And then I can see goals by me and myself. Once you can see the goal record, you can see everything that rolls up into it. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because that also is going to determine you're only going to see the opportunities you can see. So if you've got a segmented by business unit, you're not going to be able to see the roll-up queries, the opportunities that are in a different business unit. So it's all based on CRM security and it follows the business unit and role permissions like it does with opportunities and everything else.
Okay, is there a chart with actual values on the charts that you've created, for example, actual and forecasted revenue in dollars?
Yeah, that is what this Q3 goal is showing. So the blues are actuals, and the orange are forecasts from the opportunity. So that in this quarter, and this is one of the huge wins, but not having to deal with this in a spreadsheet or some other system. It's always a real hassle making sure that you deleted the actuals from the forecast, right? Well, with this system, that's impossible. It's not going to happen as long as you set up your roll-up queries correctly. Anytime we have in fact, let's go in here again. I'll go in and show you the opportunities. Again, these are the in-progress opportunities. So these are all opportunity associated view. If I go ahead and I will pick one of these and close it, it's going to take it out of the forecast. Again, $6,000. So we'll close this, go back to my graph. And so $6,000 is going to change this from 22 to 28 and 27 to 21 once I recalculate it. Okay, so that's taking it out of the forecast, pushing it into the actuals. And all I had to do was close the opportunity. That's what to me, that's what makes this system so great for both forecasting and reporting actuals is you don't have to do anything but work the opportunity. When you close the opportunity, this stuff is going to get updated. Again, the calculation happens overnight unless you want to do it yourself. But you don't have to worry about, everybody coming into the meeting with a different spreadsheet and is this an actual, is this a forecast, is this a Duke? It's all in CRM. As long as you work your opportunities and set your goals correctly, it's going to work just beautifully.
And another related question, is it possible to see numbers on the chart, view the numbers on the chart within, I guess, within sort of the actual, the visuals there?
Yeah, the goal progress count would do that. So you can see I left the phone call one in there because the target, I don't have any targets that are integer-based targets for these revenue goals, right? The only integer-based target I have is to count up those phone calls. So that is showing the count of my target there of my phone calls. And it's showing actual and new progress of 0. And the other thing was I would have to create a new graph now that showed the, it's not even on this view, it's on the all view. I would have to create a new graph that showed that that in progress count, the custom count field here in this chart. So let me just see if I can do that. I go on edit. Oh, okay. Oh, I can edit that right there. A new one, not edit. Okay. I guess it's because it's out of the box. I can't edit that. So I'd have to create a new chart for phone calls to be able to do that count. And I think I did that on the phone call entity. I just didn't do it on the chart. But yes, you can absolutely see counts, numbers show up in the chart as well as dollars.
Can you show how to configure a monthly time period again?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to Settings, Business Management, Fiscal Year Settings. Change the fiscal period template to monthly, and say OK. All right, and now if I go back to sales goals, or sales goals, and I go ahead and hit a new one. This is now you're showing me the current fiscal period of July, and here's all my months instead of the quarters. That's simple, but obviously you need to do that first before you start inputting a bunch of goals, because now these goal records are going to be mush. So you have to make sure your fiscal period is set. First step. Good question.
Okay, I'm going to make a last call for questions here. We have one more. So it is, let's see, is there any built-in way to handle team changes, like a salesperson who moves from east to west in the middle of the year? Can you keep the revenue earned on the east and new revenue under the west?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hadn't thought about that, but let me kind of think it out loud here. So let's say in Q3 I moved from east to west. So my Q1 goal is rolling up into the sales, let's say the east sales manager, right? Q2 goal rolling up into east sales manager. What I would then need to do is change my Q3 goal to roll up under west sales manager. And that would keep all of the actuals and in-progress stuff for the first 2 quarters in the old system, and then the new one would grab the new goals. Now, of course, that's only valid when it's if the change happened at the quarter breakdown. You'd probably have to create 2 goals. If you did this in the middle of the quarter, if the person moved in the middle of the quarter, you probably have to have two Q2 goals. One that rolls up into the old manager and has has half the target, and one that rolls up into the new manager with the rest of the target. But yes, that certainly should be doable. Good question.
All right, excellent. Well, that is the end of our question queue, so I think we'll start wrapping up here. Dave, thanks so much for taking the time today.
You're very welcome.
All right. Thanks to everyone in the audience for all the questions. Tony, Dave, I think we are going to leave it there, but I want to just remind folks we do have a quick survey that will pop up after the session. We always appreciate if you could take just a few seconds to provide some feedback to us, let us know what you thought of today's event. I always appreciate it. I know our speakers do too, to let us all know how we did. Great place to leave things. If you have further questions, you can obviously get in touch with Dave and the team at Trovare. And we will end it there. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great day.